Hey, y'all, what's up, man? It's RicoKnows. Hey, sorry about that, guys. I actually didn't even have my clock working. Man, we ran into some technical difficulties yesterday. If you weren't aware, usually I do the Big 12 live stream on a Wednesday, and here we are. It's Thursday, and I didn't do it in time. Shout out to you guys who are watching. I know there aren't going to be a lot of people in here because I'm doing this in the middle of the day. Usually I do at 5 p.m., but I've got to do 2 of these today. So I'm going to do this iteration, then I'm going to end the show and start it right back up and do the SEC and Sun Belt. I had a lot of time on my hands in the last 48 hours or so, last 24 hours, and I've had to try to fix this issue. I had a technical difficulty. I don't have a backup lab, so what you see in front of you is me in front of my computer screens doing the best I can to make a living and get you guys the content. Get you guys the information you need to make sensible decisions in the world of college football. I just found out in preparation for this show, that there is an actual NFL game today. I had no clue. I haven't watched an NFL game in about 5 years. I couldn't tell you anything about it. I don't even care. Have you guys ever seen me make a video about the NFL? Unless it's the NFL draft, where I talk about all the college players, but if it's the NFL itself and the results of a game, dude, I didn't read it. I didn't watch it. I didn't check a box score. Somebody sent me a DM and said, can you make a video about this? I've never seen Anthony Richardson throw a single pass. But I can make about 6 videos telling you he's dog shit. I watched him for years. I don't need to see him in the NFL. I don't care what happens. I don't enjoy the NFL. I don't get excited about it. I'm not a fan. My Sundays are spent watching college football. I watch college football year-round, 7 days a week. And that's why I don't miss. And that's why the scrolling bar beneath you down here, it says 65% against the spread for week 1 and over 70% against the spread for the locks. You can't be an expert at college football and the NFL. For those of you out there gambling on this type of stuff, if there's somebody giving you picks for college football and the NFL, they better have a whole team behind them. And I say a team of analysts. There's no way to do this individually. Like, I'm one person. I'm RicoKnows. You know what I do? I study 134 teams, and it takes me 7 months. It is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not a magic trick. I don't sit here and quote a bunch of stats. Oh, my God, they're 68% against the spread, and they're this, that, and the EV is this. I don't talk like that. I'm giving you analysis of these football teams because I know these teams. That's the reality. I got this little white thing on my shoulder. It's bugging me. There we go. The lint's gone. That's the reality. So shout out to the NFL. I don't give a shit. So please stop asking me. MVP's writing to me, telling me, hey, Rico, NFL's today. You got any picks for today? Bro, go get that itch fixed, bro, because you're walking around looking like Ashy Larry, and you got to get a hit. I can't help you. Go to rehab. I can't help you. I'm just letting you know. Hey, shout out to the UFC. The last time I saw you guys, it was Tuesday, and I was talking about how we don't miss on Contender Series. And then what happens? A minus 1,000 gets knocked the hell out in 30 seconds, and we lose all the parlays, all the props. I mean, it was crazy. Biggest upset I've ever seen in recent memory. I cannot think of a bigger upset in my life. There might have been one somewhere, but I can't think of it. I really can't. And I know we've hit on some plus 600s before, plus 400s, things like that, but it was crazy. So shout out to Dana White Contender Series. You had somebody who did some great things. Some random-ass girl from somewhere in South America knocked out a soccer mom, a really fit soccer mom. Yeah, this chick Shannon showed up in amazing shape. She looked roided out. I'm a soccer mom, but when I get in there, I get really serious. Well, you seriously were sleeping on the job, and that's not how you get the job. That being said, that might be in another world, in another profession. It turns out they're trying to sell these seats to the Sphere. If you guys haven't heard, the UFC is hosting some type of fighting event on the 14th. I'll be picking all the fights for it. Some noche, some shit. It's going to be an all-Mexican card and all this stuff. So they said it's very, very premier seating and exclusive clientele are coming to this thing. And Dana White already announced it's going to have a record gate. Excuse me, that shouldn't have happened. Accidentally hit forward or refresh or back or something. But they said they're going to have this gate of 27, 28 million. Well, the the estimation has gone down to 21 million. Seats were once 3,000 in the nosebleeds. It's a really weird venue. The nosebleeds were 3,000. Now you can get them for 800. I'm still going to be the first one, or I'm not. I don't know if I'm the first one. I'm still going to be the one to tell you guys, never go to a UFC fight. Never attend a UFC fight. As a matter of fact, don't go to a sports bar and watch a fight. I'll never forget the day I had to beat the shit out of somebody at a sports bar because he thought he was in the UFC. He was wearing a tap-out shirt, and he was letting me know he taps people out. Picking a fight with some 40-year-old dude at dinner. I was 20-something years old. I did not appreciate what this guy was doing. I don't like to be around other, testosterone-driven men just out there just like, yeah, I fight. You ever look in the crowd and you see a bunch of drunk dudes all over each other? I'm a grown man, bro. You don't even touch me, bro. Don't even touch me. Either way, I don't ever want to be at a UFC fight. You can't see through the cage. Cameramen are posted up on the post now, but still, you can't see through the cage with everything going on. You can't see the fight. You can't see anything. You just end up watching the screen. That's how I feel like when you're at Cowboy Stadium. You can't watch that damn game sitting down next to a bunch of damn business execs. Nobody there is a real football fan. Nobody's cheering about shit. First down happens, you don't even know what happened. It's crazy. But I would never go to a UFC event, and the prices are absurd. And apparently they didn't sell all the tickets the way they envisioned. And there's a lot of empty seats, and we still got like a week to go, 2 weeks to go. There's still empty seats. They might be going down in prices. And shout out to all them losers who buy all the seats and then resell them. Every single seat you're buying from one of those third-party apps is a resold seat, and they're just trying to make a profit. I hope they all lose their ass. Shout out to them. Speaking of losing your ass, what up, Warholm? So Warholm loses the 100-meter race. If you didn't know, there was a 100-meter race between Mondo Duplantis, former LSU great, American, who pretends to be from other countries, and then he beats Warholm in a 100-meter race. So, guys, I was like, yo, a pole vaulter raced a hurdler, a 400-meter hurdler, and the pole vaulter won. I thought that was pretty awesome. So I'm like, cool. Let me go check these times. Armando Duplantis ran a 10.37 100 meters. Are you shitting me, bro? That's world class. That's absolutely amazing. 10.37? What? That's DK Metcalf. I'm pretty sure Metcalf, that's what he ran. 10.37 is fast, guys. That'll win state in a bunch of high school meets. That's fast, bro. And you're 10.47, nothing to sneeze at. These are fast-ass dudes. Are you kidding me, bro? Congratulations to them. Don't think you can beat a pole vaulter in a race. Not Mondo Duplantis. Not the greatest pole vaulter in the world. I posted a video on this earlier today on TikTok. I don't post videos on TikTok, but I did one there. You see it here, the AP poll. I talked about it earlier in the week, but going back over it, Colorado got a vote in the AP poll, which is absurd. Didn't get a vote in the coaches poll, but they got a vote in the AP poll. To say they're one of the top 25 teams in the nation is a reach. At a minimum, it's a reach, right? Let's be real. It's a reach. There's no way they're one of the top 25 teams in the nation. I think even if you beat Nebraska, you're not one of the top, because Nebraska's not even top 25. So I don't know how we're getting there. I don't understand it. I wasn't impressed with their lack of defense. If you look at top 25 teams in the nation, and excuse me, I'm doing something real quick on my phone here, but if you go look at top 25 teams in the nation, is anybody running the ball less than 3 yards a carry? Because that's what happened when you played an FCS team, Colorado, and your quarterback had the longest run of the day, 11 yards. You finished with less than 60 yards rushing as a team. It's gross. How'd they get a vote? Well, the reason they got a vote is because of this guy right here, Mike Hill. Mike Hill is friends with Coach Deion Sanders, did a voiceover on his book, and apparently he has a vote in the poll. So he went out there and voted for Colorado. What a complete joke. Shout out to the Big 12. We're going to be talking about the Big 12 today, and then the American. So if you don't know the format of the show, I typically go over the results from the previous week, week 1, and then we talk about week 2. Now, as long as I don't have the game on the MVP chart, I will talk about it in this podcast. But if you ever want to be an MVP and learn about these games. You see all these percentages I have? I picked this against the spread and all that. All that is over here on Patreon. You get to Patreon, you search RicoKnows, and you become a member. And you become great. If you're an MVP, now I was having computer difficulties letting them know. There's the podcast on Tuesday. And then you have different podcasts. You have the charts, week 2 early picks. It's right there. It's got a lock on it. You got to be an MVP, and you'll learn who I like in week 2. You'll learn who I'm picking so you know which games to bet on. Now, any game not on that chart, I'm going to talk about it in this show. Typically, what that means is some of the games will end up on the chart if I convince myself of it. Because I do analysis all week long, and I just keep doing it and keep going and keep going. Then Saturday morning, I do a live stream with all the MVPs. By the way, we have thousands of MVPs. If you didn't know, we have thousands of MVPs, and they're all winning money. You're not an MVP, you're probably not winning money. That's real talk. So let's look at the Big 12. Apparently, in the Big 12, Utah's the newest member, one of the newest members, and they just won their game 49-0. No problem. I went back and watched this game. Once again, Cam Rising finding a way to throw the ball to tight ends and running backs. Still no wide receivers that really move me. It's just a check down game, and maybe they kept it simple, but that's exactly what it was. Cam Rising has 250 yards, and it's all yak. It's all kind of just little dink and dunk. And more power to them. They're getting it done. But their defense is stout. That front seven is mean. It's amazing. Okay? It is absolutely amazing. So shout out to Utah. They have one of the better front sevens in the Big 12. I think they're going to be very good this year. Period. No, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know. If you watch, if you read Twitter, it's all over there. I just saw somebody in chat say, how do I sign up for MVP? I literally just went over that. Okay. Next game, and by the way, I am going to go to the chat. If you guys drop stuff in the chat, I'm getting to the chat after I finish all the results from week 1. You can ask all your questions. Please, if you're watching on TikTok, move over to YouTube, get your questions in, and I will respond and reply and interact with you. Just be patient, please. Kansas versus Lindenwood. Kansas goes out there, and they win this game very easily. 27 points in the second quarter. Luke Grimm is him. Luke Grimm is him. Luke Grimm is him. That's a bad white receiver. If you say a white receiver, man, they're probably pretty good. They're probably pretty good. They could date my daughter, but they're probably pretty good. I'm just letting you know. No, Luke Grimm, I've been a fan of his for at least 2 years now. This is a great young player. Obviously, you should know Daniels. You should know Neal. But it looks like Kansas has a team that's probably going to win 10 or 11 games this year. It really does. Their offensive line is the only concern. They have 2 good offensive linemen. 3 of them are kind of question marks. They're probably good. Just question marks. And for the most part, they look the part. They got 2 great corners. 2 great corners. Kobe Bryant and Dotson. Romello Dotson. Dude, Dotson had a pick 6 in this game. They're great, man. I like Kansas a lot. Better respect them. Better respect them. UCF going out and doing their thing. RJ Harvey needs to be celebrated, acknowledged. He needs to be that, like, you need to just understand how great RJ Harvey is. That running back room at UCF is dynamite, and they didn't even get Xavier Townsend all the way involved. I think UCF is scary good. Scary good. Now, Jefferson is a turnover waiting to happen. He even threw a pick in this game to New Hampshire. Okay, but at the end of the day, being up 29 points at half, it was 29-3. What you need to understand about that is your offense came out the gate just hitting on all cylinders. You come out of halftime, score 4 touchdowns in the third quarter. That's wild. 4 touchdowns in the third quarter. That's pretty damn great. Colorado, you see them. They go out and beat North Dakota State. Good matchup for them. North Dakota State can really move the ball and play. Shedeur Sanders is going to score a lot of points. He's going to put up a lot of yards, and they're going to need every single one of them. That's the only thing I want to point out to people. Right? When you see a wide receiver like Jimmy Horn get 200 yards receiving, or you see a quarterback with 445 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, typically it's a blowout. Typically you've won that game. If you got that much offensive production, you've won that game by 30 points. That's when we see those daunting numbers, those gaudy numbers. That's not the case here. You needed every single one of those yards, every single one of those touchdowns, or you lose this game. And that's problematic for me as an assessor of talent and giving you gambling advice. It just doesn't look like a reliable defense. If you're getting run over like that, if a quarterback's rushing for 80 yards on you, Like, I just saw Thomas Castellanos rush for 50 or 60 yards against Florida State. Thomas Castellanos is an 1,100-yard rusher. He's blazing fast, and he still struggled to get his over rushing yards at 60. He might have got to 70, but with those knees in the pistol formation, they were losing yards. Careful with that. But it took him everything to get to 60 yards, and he's dynamite. And you're telling me North Dakota State is getting to 80 yards with their quarterback. That's absolutely terrible. Run defense. Linebackers getting beat. I watched Woods get beat on a simple route. And for me, it's isolating those linebackers into coverage probably is advantageous to your little speed backs and your guys. So that's number one. But for me, North Dakota State's ability to run on Colorado is very, very concerning, considering the Big 12 has a number of dual threat quarterbacks, and almost every team has a 1,000-yard rusher returning. It's a loaded year for running backs in the Big 12. So it looks like Colorado's going to have to put up an insane amount of points to be competitive in the Big 12. On the flip side, Colorado cannot run the ball. I've heard a bunch of Colorado fans tell me about how Shedeur Sanders, he just audibled out of the play and da-da-da-da-da and da-da. I don't care, dude. I don't care. Go back and watch the tape. Take off your blinders and pay attention. The offensive line does not move defenders when they need to. They can't get 3 yards if they needed it. It's 2 yards in a cloud of dust. That's why they average that. Your leading rusher is your quarterback, and he got 11 yards on a random-ass scramble. Other than that, nobody else is getting carries and impressing me. Nobody's moving the chains. And with the game on the line, if you don't have the offensive line to seal that game and get a first down and ice it, you're not going to win every game that matters. You're not going to win those close ones. You're just not. It's an unfortunate reality. So shout out to Colorado. They got it done. They found a way to win. But I'm on record for telling you that's probably the second easiest game they're going to have all year. And that's not good. That's not a good indicator for where they're headed, if we're being real. It's not a good indicator for where they're headed. The only team that's worse than them that I saw is probably Houston. Outside of that, the teams they're playing are all pretty good, theoretically. Next matchup was on Friday. We watched TCU destroy Stanford. No, they found a way to win. I think TCU's a better team than Stanford. I think TCU's in for a bounce-back game or a bounce-back season. There's still problems there. They came out the gate slow. They didn't look ready, and I blame coaching for that if you're not prepared for that moment. But they came through. And it's mainly Stanford just being, you know? That's how I feel about it. Penn State against West Virginia. West Virginia is still a nice team to cheer for. I said they win 7 games this year. Unfortunately, that means you're not going to be ranked by the end of the season. You're just not. So that's unfortunate for West Virginia. Going out there and getting blanked by Penn State, pretty tough. Jaheim White got injured. You don't ever want to see that. I didn't see any semblance of identity, and I know West Virginia has it. Losing certain players in the transfer portal up front is going to hurt them in the long run. It's the reality of the situation. You lose a defensive lineman to Florida State, and he didn't even play at Florida State this week. But that's what you need. You need those guys back. You need all the players you lost. Secondary making some mistakes here and there. Penn State taking advantage of it. They made Drew Allard look like he's a good quarterback, which is frightening to me because I know he's not. But I hope West Virginia figures it out. Neil Brown doesn't go down this path of just laying eggs all left and right. They really just didn't put up a fight at home. That's bad. Oklahoma State, man, going out there and beating the brakes off of South Dakota State. And what I mean is South Dakota State is the very best FCS team in America. Pay attention. The very best FCS team in America. They're ranked number 1 in the polls even after this loss. They're still ranked number 1. They still have their starting quarterback who hadn't lost the game in 2 years. This is a back-to-back national championship team. So for Oklahoma State to go out there and impose their will, like really impose their will, that was impressive. Now, they gave up some big plays on the secondary. They need to figure that out. But I turned on the tape. Nick Martin is just so good, bro. They might call him Nicholas Martin. Nick Martin is so good. The linebacker for Oklahoma State, I think he's the best linebacker in America. I think he's an NFL superstar waiting to happen. Just fast, mean, great, athletic, everything. Turn on the tape, man. That dude's amazing. Stop waiting for the mock drafts. Stop waiting for all the rankings from these stupid-ass websites. They already put out an early who's going to get drafted first in the 2025 draft. Like, they don't even care how the players play. They just identify them. And just go, oh, these are the top 10 guys in America right now. These are the top 10 guys in the NFL draft in 2025, Rico. I'm like, bro, you don't care how they play this year? This is why Anthony Richardson's getting drafted 3rd overall. This is why you're picking these guys. Because you already predetermined who you like. You predetermined who you think is good. The results don't matter to you. It's fucking wild. Because Oklahoma State has a linebacker I really believe in. Oh, by the way, the receiving core is out of this world. I don't want to do them any disservice. And I want to talk about it. I talk about it in the top 25 video. I want to do this. Stribling, Owens, and Presley are out of this world great. Stribling used to be a leading receiver for Cam Ward back at Washington State before he transferred over. Rashad Owens is just a superstar of a guy, huge, a physical matchup, like a physical mismatch. And then obviously Brendan Presley had 100 receptions last year. What are we doing? He's an all-time great in Oklahoma State history, and that's saying something for Oklahoma State because they have a lot. They have a lot of great players. But that Nick Martin right there, Trey Rucker, Nick Martin, bro. Oh, my God. Turn on the tape and just look for him. Just look for him every single play. Don't worry about nothing else. Just keep looking for him. I'm so impressed with Nick Martin. I really am. That's the guy. Next game was Kansas State, UT Martin. I pulled up the box score for a couple reasons. First and foremost, I am still not impressed with Avery Johnson as a passer. Kincaid Dent, that's a transfer from Ole Miss. He came over, I think, last year, 2 years ago. And shout out to Sharon. He's a transfer from Kentucky. I think he just came over this year. Nonetheless, they were outgunned, outmanned. K-State beats them. But when I looked at K-State on tape, Avery Johnson still does not move me. Threw an interception. Less than 40 on the QBR. I don't know what any of that means. All I can tell you is they weren't throwing down the field. 150 yards on 21 attempts is not it. And they kept it safe. Maybe they kept it vanilla for this week. I don't know. But I'm just telling you, it didn't look good. Not to me. Avery Johnson didn't look good to me. And I felt this way. We're going on 2 years now. Every time I look at that kid play, it doesn't move me. Defense is great. Defense is mean. They're doing their part. Shout out to them. This score did not get out of hand until the 4th quarter, just so you're aware. Speaking of getting out of hand, New Mexico, Arizona. So a lot of people aren't going to like to hear this, but watching the tape, Devin Dampier is a mother flipping problem. That man's rushing for 130 yards, throwing for 260, and I'm thoroughly impressed with his ability to play football. I think he's going to transfer to, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think he's going to transfer to a better school next year. That kid's great. Noah Fafita is him. 422 yards on 31 attempts. That's the type of production you want. The running backs, bro. Krosky Merritt, Conley, this is what it looks like when you can run the ball. You average 8 to 9 yards a carry. I know it's New Mexico, but we already know Krosky Merritt rushed for 19 touchdowns last year. On a terrible New Mexico team. He rushed for 19 touchdowns last year. Do not marginalize how great this man is. Do not marginalize how great these running backs are. Conley's been a 1,000-yard rusher before. He did 900 last year, but he's around 900. And then he comes out here and does 90 in a backup role with 3 touchdowns. These dudes are real, man. Shout out to them. I really, really like the running back room at Arizona. They're 4 deep, maybe even 5. Receivers, obviously. The one guy is taking over the receiver room and looks amazing. I've told you all offseason he's the greatest wide receiver in the country. I still believe it. And he is defensively. So a lot of people want me to speak out. I've been asked time and time again. There are some players on Arizona's defense that have not panned out. Have not lived up to the hype, if you will. I'm going to tell you, I'm not too concerned with recruiting stars not equating to success. It just happens, right? The websites, they don't try to get it right, man. They just identify all the players committed to the big schools and then give them a number of stars. And mathematically, they're going to be accurate and right because of the schools, not because of the website, not because of their assessment of the players. It's the schools. The schools get it right. The schools develop the players to get drafted. And this school tends to develop more players to get drafted than this school. So let's give this school's players 5 stars. 4 stars. That's how it works. If you as a website want to be accurate, then you just go and say, all right, where's wide receiver U? Who's wide receiver U? Ohio State, LSU? All right, well, whoever commits to those schools, let's make them 5 stars because we know they're going to get to the league. It's kind of how it works. I'm not even joking. I'm simplifying it, but I'm just letting you know. There are some star players that get stars that don't work out. Maybe he had some stars because he was going to Oregon, and they tend to rate the Oregon players a certain way. But if you don't pan out at Oregon and you transfer to Arizona, you're not that 5-star guy. Now you're just an Arizona linebacker. Hope I'm explaining Justin Flo to you guys. Nonetheless, shout out to Arizona figuring it out. One thing they did is they never stopped scoring. Never stopped scoring. Second half, 34 points. That's pretty remarkable. If you never shut it down and you just keep going, they're just going to put up points. I think they're going to score a lot. Start looking at Arizona overs all over the damn place. Just keeping it real. Next game is Cincinnati-Towson. Cincinnati came out the gate, 21 points in the first quarter. Sorsby's everything. Sorsby's amazing. This Sorsby dude right here can't be touched. Evan Pryor, look at Pryor, dude. 1,000-yard rusher, rushes for 105 yards. I love the offensive line. Xavier Henderson doesn't even belong over here. This is a young man who transferred in from Florida to meet up with Emory Jones last year. He's still here. They got a team, man. Cincinnati's got a team. I know they give up points to Towson. I know Cincinnati's defense is a problem. Their offense, and we're going to find out this week, but their offense looks great. Iowa State, I've told you about Iowa State's defense all off season. I believe in Iowa State's defense, and they don't let me down. They played a Dakota team. They played North Dakota, and they gave up 1 field goal. That's amazing. Now, I still don't think they can run the ball. I still think Abusam is not it. That's just me. But Rocco Becht, with all his wide receivers, their offense reminds me a lot of Colorado. Their offense reminds me of Colorado. Rocco Becht, a 3,000-yard passer last year, and all his receivers returned. And they pick up Eli Green in the transfer portal, the leading receiver from North Dakota State last year. So you got all these studs, and you got a really, really good quarterback. The only difference with this team is they got defense for days. Absolute studs on defense. The whole secondary return. We're talking about guys with hundreds of tackles, half a dozen interceptions, 5 interceptions, I believe, for Coop. Shout out to Jeremiah Cooper, probably the best defender on this whole damn team. And I understand there's other good players. Trust. Love Iowa State. They're in my top 25. Kept it simple, beat the hell out of a team, and kept it vanilla. We'll see what happens this week. By the way, they play Iowa. It's on the MVP chart. I won't talk about it. Just a heads up. Baylor and Tarleton State. Baylor actually, they impressed me, but not really. If you actually watch the game, I went back and watched it, guys. Every single game, I go back and watch. I go back and watch every single game before I do the podcast. That's how I get down. What is Rico doing all day, every day? This is what I'm doing. This is my job for a reason. And I go back and watch this game, and I tell you, DeQuan Finn is still terrible. DeQuan Finn is not good. He wasn't good at Toledo. He wasn't. He's surrounded by good players. They win games. He's not good, man. I'm just letting you know, 2 interceptions against an FCS team. I don't care about the circumstances. That just can't happen. It can't happen. Congratulations to Richard Reese, starting running back again. This is a young man that rushed for 900 yards as a true freshman last year, lost the job to Dominic Richardson, who transferred in from Oklahoma State. So he goes to like the 3rd string running back, kind of, sort of, and now he's back, and he got the lion's share of the production. Pendergrass, a badass white boy, big running back who actually played a lot last year as a freshman. Baylor's got 3 running backs. 3. And Richard Reese came out to play. I appreciate him for doing that. Shout out to him. Wide receivers. Their whole wide receiver room came back from last year. They looked the part. They have a lot of continuity. And then they added Ashton Hawkins, a little speedster from Texas State. He's not bad. So shout out to them. Obviously, Michael Trigg coming in the transfer portal from Ole Miss, former USC tight end. But they're figuring it out. It feels like last chance you for a lot of these guys. And they got it done. Keaton Thomas, pick 6. Congratulations. Or maybe it wasn't a pick 6. It had to be. Yeah, I watched it. It was a pick 6. I'm like, what the hell? They don't have interceptions listed here. Okay, that makes sense. But, yeah, they got some work to do. There it is. Interception. Pick 6. They got some work to do. We'll see what happens. But Baylor's not as bad as people think. I really think they got a good offense if they can cut down on the turnovers. DeQuan Finn is not him. At least not for me. Houston finds a way to get on the board against UNLV in the fourth quarter. That's gross. That's gross. UNLV came out and hit him in the mouth. And I'm going to talk about UNLV on Friday, tomorrow, with the with the Mountain West. And I'm just a little disappointed that Ricky White will not be getting the same yards he got last year. Ricky White is going to have a terrible season statistically, theoretically. I just don't think Sluka can hit him like that. Sluka's a one-man show. Sluka's used to being the Johnny Manziel type. So for Sluka to be asked to throw it, he doesn't do that. He just runs. But Donovan Smith looked like shit. And Donovan Smith, former Texas Tech quarterback, transferred in last year. He's pretty good, man, and he's a dual threat guy. Looked terrible. Looked absolutely terrible. You could blame the defense. Catalon had his number. Catalon picked him off twice. I think it's good coaching. I think UNLV watches a lot of film. I think they were prepared for the game. It looked like a superior coaching job. And for me, seeing Odom, former SEC head coach, at the Group of 5 level in the Mountain West, he's just getting it done. And offense and defensive coordinators, everybody. UNLV has a loaded coaching staff with continuity, and it shows. They beat the hell out of Houston, and Houston just looked gross. Don't get on the board until the fourth quarter. Obviously, your wide receiver room got ransacked by the transfer portal, so you had some decent players in there. You can't get them the ball. It's crazy, man. Crazy. Oh, by the way, I've been telling you guys A.J. Halsey is him the whole time, every time. I won't ever stop. A.J. Halsey ends up getting an interception in the first game as well. Here it is, A.J. Halsey, interception, 48 yards. Massey's the transfer from SMU, good kickoff returner. But Halsey's the best player on this team, and I've been saying it for 2 years now. Yeah, it's one of my top transfers 2 years ago. Go check the chart. When I did my talent evaluation, I gave Houston a 9 at safety because of Halsey. He don't belong at Houston. He's going to get paid. Watch him transfer to LSU after this year. That dude's a stud. He's young. Stud. Shout out to UNLV for beating the hell out of Houston. Houston looked gross. Next game, speaking of looking gross, Texas Tech against Abilene Christian. How is Abilene Christian not ranked after this performance? Abilene Christian, I checked the FCS polls after week 1. They just got votes. They're not even in the top 25. Bro, they just went ham. They threw over 500 yards against Texas Tech. Come on, man. And they went for 2, and they missed it in overtime. They go for 2 to try to win it. But my goodness, Texas Tech. You are gross. Now I'm being told that Taj Brooks is injured, and he's probable or questionable for this week, something like that. Dude, that's your workhorse. You got to make sure he's healthy. Cameron Valdez probably regrets coming back, but he couldn't find any other takers in the transfer portal. He jumped in the portal, didn't land anywhere, came back. And then Cameron Dickey's a true freshman who I really like. Shout out to him. I actually did a high school film review on him on TikTok. So believe in him. Guys, they played great. Went out there and scored on every possession. This is what Colorado's going to look like. You got to score every single possession. They played great. 5 touchdowns passing, 150 yards rushing, almost 400 yards passing. Like Joshua Kelly's open every single play. Joshua Kelly's him. I did my Koya Aiken video on my Hidden Gems list on YouTube. Talked about it. 2 touchdowns. He's everywhere. Jalen Connors transferred in from Arizona State. Good player at tight end. Caleb Douglas is an oversized wide receiver transferring in from Florida. They got good players. You can't get any more skill players. They have such good skill players that John Carlos Miller is a tight end from Elon, I believe. But anyways, they have such good skill players that you'll see guys. Look down here, Dre McCray. Dre McCray, Austin Peay transfer from 2 years ago. Dre McCray lit up Alabama 2 years ago, and I loved it. I couldn't believe it. Like 2022, I just saw him. He's a beast. And he can't even get in the starting lineup. He had a 74-yard kickoff return. He's still amazing at kickoff returns. He's so fast, 400 meters. Couldn't be Mondo Duplantis in 100 meters, but he's so fast, and he's still not starting. They have such good players, and they're in a damn shootout. This is bad. This is bad. This tells me a couple things. Jacob Rodriguez leads you in tackles, coming back from injury. I like him. Cool. Ben Roberts looks slow and plotty on the field. He's a middle linebacker. He just kind of looks just out there. I understand he's making tackles, but he's not getting it done. Baskerville, the transfer from San Diego State. I like him a lot. It's cool. I'm watching the tape, guys. Players are there. They got to make plays. But for me, Texas Tech's in for a long season if they can't get some stops. They're going to be just like Colorado. It's going to be high-scoring games, and their defense better figure it out. That's crazy. And shout out to DeBraylon Carroll, the transfer from Rice. Rice really needed you, buddy, but you came out here and got a fumble recovery. So, yeah, still, every possession group, everything on offense for Texas State or Texas Tech is great. Absolutely great. Defense, God. You suck, bro. You suck. You give up 51 points to an FCS school. There's no other way for me to describe it, but you suck. Guess who doesn't suck? BYU. BYU goes in this game against Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois is like a top 15 FCS team. They're very good. And BYU beat them up. And BYU, man, they're sneaky good. They got a kicker. He missed one field goal, but he made a 50-yarder. Like, this should have been 17-0 at one point, and then they missed the field goal. SIU scores. But that field goal right there is a 50-yarder before halftime. I'm just telling you, there's some things to how they get down and what they do. BYU looks good. If they can get Retzlaff to do his thing, they'll be okay. They have Jerry Bohannon competing to try to be the starting quarterback. They'll figure that out. They have a very tough game this week against SMU, but not being able to stop DJ Williams concerns me. That's a dual-threat quarterback. But my goodness, man. The 1-2 punch of this Hickney dude, he's a senior now. He's been there for a while. Him and LJ Martin, they can be doing something. They can do something. This is not bad. This is not beating up on a scrub-ass FCS team. This is a playoff team. This is a good team. Okay, this performance here is very solid. Very, very solid. Wide receivers are good. Don't ever get it twisted. BYU returned all their wide receivers from last year. They're good, and hopefully Keelan Marion can have that breakout game I'm looking for. It's a UConn transfer. He's a Georgia kid. He can play football. Defensively, Jack Kelly coming into the transfer portal. Weber State coming over. His defensive coordinator has been here 2 years now, but he comes over, joins them, and he leads the team in tackles. He looks the part when I watch film. Him, Bagna, Glasker. Yeah, some of these guys, they're getting it done. The only issue they're going to have is can their skill players keep up with SMU's skill players? It's a reality. But other than that, they're really good. Speaking of really good, Arizona State. I told you it was a lock. It was on the chart. By the way, some of these games, lock. UNLV was an underdog. I said they were going to win money line. We won that, okay? This one, I told you Arizona State, last game of the night, bet the spread and go to bed is what I told MVPs. We got it right again. I knew it. Wyoming has a new head coach, new everything, star running back not playing in the game. They look like shit. On the flip side, Arizona State, they got parents from Arizona State DMing me saying, hey, Rico, my son plays on the team. They're going to be amazing this year. They're going to be really good. Trust me. The parents of the players are reaching out to me on Twitter. Thank you, by the way. Thanks for giving me that heads up. We also got it right on Oklahoma State. That was a lock that they would cover. I got it right in my prediction here. Got TCU right that they would beat Stanford. Got it wrong on Colorado. They didn't cover the spread. But, yeah, those were locks that we got right out of the Big 12. It felt really good to get them all right. When you look at Arizona State, couple things I'm excited about. DeCarlos Brooks, shout out to him, coming back from injury, being the backup running back, looking explosive, looking good. Obviously, him and Scattaboo, 1-2 punch, get it done. Without Raleek Brown. Once they get Raleek Brown, that's a whole nother, that's Reggie Bush 2.0. So they got star players everywhere. Wide receiver room, looking pretty decent. Shout out to Alto, by the way. He got a lot of carries, not a lot of production. He's got to figure that out. But the wide receiver room over here, don't believe in this Kason Brown. That's all one big play in the fourth quarter. Not a big deal. Or late in the game. I'm sorry, not fourth quarter, but late in the game, second half. Jordan Tyson used to be the best player at Colorado before he transferred. And this was the best player before Coach Prime got there. Remember when they went 1-11? The only bright spot on that whole team was Jordan Tyson. And he's been injury prone, but when he's healthy, he's a good player. So shout out to him. Jake Smith, former Texas Longhorn, former USC Trojan, and now he's here, and he's actually coming through, returning some kicks, doing some things. I like this team, but it feels like last chance you. You've got the Colorado, Cincinnati transfer in Mateer. Stouffville's a transfer from Nevada. You obviously got a transfer from Sacramento State, transfer from Idaho State. Everybody's a transfer, bro, essentially. Defensively, led by Kashawn Elliott. New Mexico State's finest. Last year, I told you guys, Kashawn Elliott's one of the best linebackers in the group of 5. He jumps in the transfer portal. I believe the first linebacker video I ever did, if you go on the live tab on YouTube, click on transfer portal, and you'll see all the different position groups, or you click on the live tab, you'll see Transfer Portal Podcast. Scroll down a little bit. My first episode on linebackers, I start going off on how rivals on 3, 24/7, they don't know the players. They just tell you, oh, these are the top players in the transfer portal, and it's all based off of their high school rankings because they can't admit that they're wrong. They can't afford to be wrong. So they'll just keep spamming you over and over and over how this kid is still great. This guy is great. This guy is great. Over and over and over. You'll be like, man, you got him ahead of a 1,000-yard rusher? Like, he couldn't even play in a game, but you got him ahead of a 1,000-yard rusher? That's crazy. So I watched Kashawn Elliott be ranked super low in the linebacker rankings. Him and Zayas, by the way, both of them. Zyrus right here, Fezu, both of these guys, Fezu and Elliott. Excuse me,
stuff all over the table.
Fezu and Elliott are ranked really low in the linebacker rankings by 24/7 Sports and on 3. At least they were in the offseason. They might change them. They might try to pretend like they got it right and move them, but I have it in my episodes. I show you where they're ranked, and they didn't respect these two men. And I'm like, listen, guys, I watched San Diego State all season. The best linebacker on that team is Fezu, Zyrus. Zyrus is the best at San Diego State, and he transferred to Arizona State. Kashawn Elliott is the best in the whole group of 5 to me, and he transferred to Arizona State. So they got 2 amazing linebackers in the transfer portal, and it paid dividends. Obviously, Zyrus scored a touchdown. Kashawn Elliott led the team in tackles. This is great. The upgrades on defense for them really showed out. Wyoming doesn't score until the end of the 4th quarter. Junta, they would have got shut out at this point. Arizona State hitting on all cylinders. That felt like the greatest lock of all time. I was so impressed with myself. Anyways, just joking. Hey, I've been talking long enough. I'm going to talk about the Week 2 matchups. No, I'm going to jump to the chat after this. I'll jump to the chat after this, and then we'll go from there. So, BYU SMU. It's a Friday game. I'll never talk about it. That is tomorrow, and that anytime there's a weekday game, I provide a pick for the MVPs. Every weekday game, I provide a pick for the MVPs. That's the rules. So that's a lock. Can't talk to you about it. Next game, Arkansas, Oklahoma State. I think we're going to learn a lot about both these teams. I don't think it's on the chart right now, and it probably won't be. I love Oklahoma State. The line is 7.5, and Arkansas looked impressive in week 1. So we got to learn a bit about them. It might make the chart. Kansas State, Tulane. John Summerall, unfortunately for him, 2 years in a row now, he's got to take a really good team and go play Kansas State. Kansas State last year, he took Troy, by the way. Troy was very senior laden. Troy looked ready. Troy looked like they were doing really good in other games, and they went over to K-State and got blown out. So now he's at Tulane. He's got a very different team than the one from last year at Troy. His team right now looks kind of explosive, kind of speedy, kind of athletic, but they're not senior laden. It's not like that. So K-State should blow them out. It's a -9. K-State should win this by like 20. I'm being serious. Just so you know. That might have to be a lock. It might. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. It's on the chart, but in a different way. So I can just tell you that I expect this game to be extremely high scoring, no defense, and a whole lot of offense. I believe in both those offenses. Baylor at Utah. Utah's a 15-point favorite. Sounds about right after their week 1 performance. Don't sleep on Baylor. Baylor can score. Utah's front 7 is daunting. Learn about those teams. Iowa State, Iowa. It's on the chart. Won't talk about it. Albany's one of the better FCS teams. Love Albany. I don't know how they even compete with West Virginia. West Virginia better win that game by 30. Sam Houston at UCF. It's a 22-point spread. UCF looked impressive in week 1. Sam Houston also looked impressive. They got a win, huge win over Rice. Sam Houston's an enigma to me as a gambler. I never get it right. We don't bet on Sam Houston. We don't bet against Sam Houston. We don't talk about Sam Houston games. But here it is. Probably going to make it on the chart. Kansas at Illinois. It is on the chart. Colorado, Nebraska. Not on the chart. I'm going to tell you, I like Nebraska's 7.5 line. I think they can run the rock like crazy. They used 4 running backs in the first game of the season. They looked dominant up front. They looked like they were doing everything they needed to, and I don't see how Colorado runs the ball on them at all. Yes, they'll score. There will be scoring in this game. They can throw. They can throw like anybody. That's never been the issue for them. Try to stop that Nebraska offense. You don't have Jeff Sims coming out of the fucking stands fumbling every handoff. No way. Oklahoma, Houston, it's on the chart. I won't talk about it. TCU should beat Long Island, no problem. Arizona's going to beat NAU. And then we have that game right down there. Texas Tech, Washington State. If Texas Tech's defense is this terrible, this should be a high-scoring game. It's going to be the middle of the night. That 65.5 is a really big number. But I'm going to tell you guys, this game's probably going to be on the chart for me, so I can't even make a prediction. Next game, Mississippi State at Arizona State. Arizona State 6-point favorites? That sounds about right. I know, SEC, they look good. Rico, SEC. That sounds about right. I also don't like that. I don't like that over. I don't like that 60.5, y'all. I don't like that 60.5. I think the under's in play. Somebody keep track of everything I'm saying. I know I do. Shout out to the MVPs. All right, so that's the Big 12 in a nutshell. Before I move on to the American, we're going to jump to the chat and see what you guys are talking about. Thank you guys for being here. TikTok, if you're watching, move over to YouTube. Drop a question, comment in the chat. We got you. Shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let's interact. Hopefully we don't have too many. Oh, it looks like we don't have too many questions. We'll be ready to go. Gary Clark says, what up, Rico? Hard Dixon Helicopters, what's up, man? Let's go. What up, Gabe? Shout out to you, man. Evan Kramer, 2 podcasts in one day. I love it. I don't. That's a lot of work for me. And we just built Kim just built the Blackstone. We bought one of those Blackstone grills, 36 inches, because she said size matters. So we got a Blackstone 36 inch. She just put it together. Shout out to her. Just got back from class. Love me a Rico live. Let's go. Shout out to Sadie. I didn't know you're in school. Pay attention to class. Divine Obsidian says, hey, Rico, thoughts on Daquan White, corner from Eastern Michigan? My thoughts are he's not in the American or the Big 12. So I got nothing for you, Divine. You're on the wrong day. 7 Miles says, how can I sign up for MVPs? Easiest way. Go to patreon.com and become an MVP. Hit the join button, become an MVP. If you want to do it that way, that's one. Number 2, download the Patreon app. It's in the App Store on your phone. Number 3, you can do it on YouTube. You just hit the join button right now on the show you're watching right now. You just hit join and you're there. Hit the details of this video. There's a whole bunch of links to follow. Now, YouTube MVPs versus Patreon MVPs, 2 slightly different things. Patreon, you get screenshots, you get the charts. YouTube, it's in a video, and you still have to connect to the Discord server to see the screenshots and the charts. One's friendlier than the other. By the way, Patreon, you can sign up for the whole year and get a discount. YouTube, they don't allow that. So Patreon, you get a 15% discount if you sign up to be an annual MVP, which we've gotten 4 of those today. Thank you. 4 of those today. Thank you for making my life possible. I appreciate you guys. The Waddy Way says, I'm one of those MVPs that realized straight bets are the way to go. Thanks. Shout out to Waddy Way. We are straight betting the hell out of this and getting it right. Shout out to all the locks. Like, if I go 70% against the spread in locks, 65% against the spread overall across like 30 games, and you lost money, you're a terrible gambler. That's why I don't tell you how many units to apply. I don't do the whole gambling, No, I just tell you, hey guys, here's my analysis in this matchup in this game. That's how I get down. You're a terrible gambler if you're losing money like that. And a lot of people are, just so we're clear. What does Fafita need to do to win the Heisman? You need to win games, Jack Evans. To win the Heisman, he plays quarterback. He needs to win games and make sure T-Mac doesn't steal the shine from him. They might split votes in their region, but he just needs to win games. Yep, do it over and over and over. Have at least 10 wins. We're going to look at the best quarterbacks on 10-win teams and above. That's how you win the Heisman. No running backs are winning the Heisman. Not a chance in hell. Go to 2018. Go to 2018 and look. There are 3 2,000-yard rushers at major universities. J.K. Dobbins at Ohio State, Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin, and I'm missing one more. Just escapes me right now. None of them got invited to New York. They don't care. That's not happening anymore. It's a quarterback award, maybe a wide receiver. That's how it's done. It was the quarterback running against Colorado, not running backs. Yeah, that's kind of how that works. It was the quarterback running against, yeah, that's how it works. Design quarterback runs. So there are dual threat quarterbacks all over the Big 12. That happens. And the running backs at North Dakota State were injured. Their starting running back was injured. He played a little bit, but he was injured. It doesn't matter, man. It's apples and oranges. We're talking about teams with NFL players versus just scrubs. Just teams who have feel-good stories. You have role players and feel-good stories at the FCS, then you have NFL talent in the Big 12. Running back rooms. So it's an offensive line. It's going to be a different story. It's going to be a long season. Yep. Colorado's rush defense was decent against running backs, just got beat on quarterback runs. Yeah, Sean, that's not a real thing. There's no such thing as decent against running backs and not quarterbacks. There's no such thing. Did you give up rushing yards? How the offense schemed to beat you is their business. Did you give up rushing yards? Yep. Tackle the run. Tackle the guy with the ball. Right? If you give up passing yards, does anybody care if it was a screen or a fade? If it's a tight end drag or a running back out of the backfield, it doesn't matter, bro. You're not stopping the passing attack. Same thing. Actually, that decent. Jacob Robinson, BYU corner, is legit. Good production as well. There you go, Rocco Glaze. Thoughts on Ohio Bobcats rushing attack against South Bama? Go back and watch the show when I talked about the MAC. We talk about the MAC on Tuesdays. The MAC on Tuesday. Today is Big 12 and American. Talk about the MAC on Tuesdays. It's been covered thoroughly. Logan Goki. Trey Money says, only if we had junkage, we would have took UV to town. He's good. He's a good player. I don't believe that's true at all. Not at all. Is Colorado having another 450 passing and 300 receiving yards, or is Nebraska stopping them? I don't really have a prediction in that regard. I think that there's going to be a ton of production for both sides. I really do. I think that Nebraska has a daunting defense, but even last year they had one shutdown corner, and then they were able to give a bunch of passing yards. Shedeur Sanders is very accurate, and he's going to get the ball downfield. I think, if anything, the only downfall Colorado can have is if they try to incorporate Will Shepherd in the offense more, just to try to get the ball rolling. You just have to recognize that some of your guys aren't any good. Like last year, they did that a lot. They did that with Javon Antonio. Like, they kept trying to get him production and give him routes and give him stuff because he's a big guy. You shouldn't do that. Just keep throwing to Travis. That's your guy. Keep throwing to Travis Hunter. Hopefully Wester gets open. Hopefully you find, Jimmy Horn Jr. cross. Whatever it is. Whatever's working, keep doing it. But defensively, none of it's working as far as I'm concerned. How you feel about Temple this week? Trey Money. I feel the same way about Temple every week. Temple's a terrible team, one of the worst teams I've ever seen. Thoughts on Kansas running back? Devin Neal. He's an elite running back. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I don't know why you guys ask stuff like that. Like your top 25 poll, Oregon isn't deserving of top 10. I don't think I have Oregon in my top 25. I don't have Oregon in my top 25 at all. I did a top 25 poll on Twitter, and I'm telling you, I just don't look at it like that. It's week 1 of the college football season. I will assess week 1 results. I do not give a shit about preseason polls, what the recruiting websites told you, what everybody's trying to convince you of what's good. I don't care about none of that. Like, when I look at it, I'm like, week 1 results, Vanderbilt's top 15. From what I saw, that's how I look at it. How did the Contender Series predictions go for you, Rico? Alejandro Mendoza, I already covered that in the show. Go back, rewind the show, start it over. I already talked about it. Derek Newcomer says, Rico, happy to see you back, man. I read that way too fast. I thought you said I was black, man. I'm like, bro, are we in the locker room? How do you know? I got you boys shook. Thoughts on Tulane versus K-State? I already addressed it. I think it's going to be a low-key, solid game on Saturday. Why is it low-key? Very good programs. Not low-key. Do you think Iowa's addition of somewhat competent quarterback and an improved offense make them a candidate for the playoffs? Logan Key, that's your third question now. And you've refused to understand the concept. We go over certain conferences on certain days. I've already answered all the Iowa questions on Tuesday. Tuesdays are the Big Ten. Please don't ask me any more questions not in conference or you'll be muted. That's just how we get down. This is the Big 12 and the American today. Temple is terrible. They should be Division II. No, they're still in FCS. Division II means you only have 36 scholarship players. They have 85 scholarship players. They are an FBS team. Thoughts on DJ Lagway starting the Week 2 game? That is, oh my God. That is an SEC question. I'm fucking done with chat, bro. I just can't deal with you guys. I'm done. It's not a hard concept to follow, guys. There's a logo on the video. There's fucking conference labels. The title of the video says Big 12 in the American, and you're in here asking about Big 10, MAC, and SEC. We have to stay organized and focused for the gamblers, for the people trying to get the predictions of these games right. And you guys want to sit in here and talk about some other shit. Let's move on to the American. The American, UAB opened up the season against Alcorn State. Not a big deal. Blowing them out. They look good. Shout out to Jacob Zeno. Isaiah Jacobs is a good running back. Josh Jacobs' little brother. He's their leader on this team. Let's hope they get it done. Shout out to UAB. I expect big things from them, or at least good things in the next couple of weeks. I do want to point out something. I watched this game this morning. I have all the games saved on the hard drive, by the way. They automatically record. Shout out to YouTube TV. You can set up your library to record them all. Part of the technical difficulties is I have four terabyte rated SSD drives that go together. Okay, so I have like 16 terabytes of drive space for every season. Record the games. Typically, I don't save them all. Some I do. I just keep it moving. But I watched this game today, and my God, I was curious how Jake Garcia was going to play. My God, was he terrible. Jake Garcia, 3 interceptions and a fumble. Absolutely terrible. I was watching for Javius Bond. This is my hidden gem. I really love Javius Bond as a running back. My hidden gem on this team, if you watch the hidden gem playlist on YouTube. But, man, did they look like dog shit. And you see the score, 42-3. You're like, yeah, they're amazing. Nah, man. You better figure it the hell out. Look how many fumbles they had as a team. You better figure it the hell out. You can't do this. You can't do this. I don't ever want to, I just, man, Jake Garcia, gonna ruin it. He's not gonna lose his job. He threw 4 touchdowns, but man, I would take it from him. Shout out to Zeno, by the way. And I wanted to tell you, Lee Beebe getting his carries, getting his playing time. Congrats. Armani Goodwin, by the way, good running back, transfer from LSU. Very good running back, looks good on tape as well. Had that long 26-yard run, but more importantly, he just looks like a very good runner. They got 3 running backs.
As the staff,
this always auto-plays, bro. This always auto-plays. I don't need those copyright violations. Shout out to them. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with UAB. I'm paying close attention. Love what Trent Dilfer's trying to build. I really do. Tulsa, I knew they would score a lot of points. Northwestern State's very bad. Remember, they canceled their season a year ago, or at least the rest of it. You have Tulsa out here putting up 62 after trailing early. Kirk Francis doing 300 yards. I still like Tulsa a lot. They're just cool to cheer for. Their coach is like a quarterback whisperer, if you will. Temple, absolute trash. Surprised they scored 3 points. Army played very boring. Did not get the ball to Kanye Udo as much as I wanted. I live streamed this game. Michigan State was uglier than that, but we're actually going to talk about Florida Atlantic. Fancher running around everywhere. Fancher looks athletic. I don't know if he's going to survive a whole season, but he looks athletic. Shout out to Cam Fancher. If you can bet on his prop yards, look for his over yards, rushing yards, and bet him every time. He's gonna do something. He's running. Navy looked terrible against Bucknell. They got it done. UTSA, it was a boring game against Kennesaw State. I went and watched it again. So boring. What's up with UTSA? They threw it. They wanted to figure out who their quarterback was. They did. It's Owen McCown. He threw for 340 yards. And by the way, they didn't use any of their good running backs, and they have 3 of them. So I think they were playing vanilla. UTSA was plain simple as hell. They have a huge showdown this week against Texas State. It's a rivalry game. Both teams are very good. I think it's a pick 'em on the spread. Very, very hard to tell how good UTSA is. I know their running backs are great. North Texas, South Alabama. Shout out to North Texas. I knew this would happen. Come out here and score an amazing amount of points. They got murdered by the transfer portal. Transfer portal took an offensive lineman, 2 running backs, the best wide receiver. They don't care, man. They got a coach, and Eric Morris, who knows what he's doing. Chandler Morris goes out and throws for 415 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ragsdale used to be the leading rusher, or at least one of the leading rushers, back in 2022. He's finally back in the starting lineup and getting to do things. Demaja Harris is a problem. This dude Harris, I turn on the tape, I'm watching it, I'm I'm surprised. I'm just watching these guys, new players. Last year it was Oscar Attaway the third and Ayo Adehi. I love the running back room last year. I'm watching these new guys, and I'm like, well, I know Ragsdale. Who's this Demaja Harris? He's a transfer from Lamar, and he's huge, bro. He's going to be moving piles. He might go out there and steal some touchdowns in the red zone. He's big, okay? 6'3", 230-ish big. Like, he's big. Damon Ward goes out there, gets 230 yards. I didn't see this coming. He's a good wide receiver, but 230 is a lot. Damon Ward, 230 yards. He's one of the leading receivers last year. Back now, he's the alpha male. Now that Macklin's gone to Kentucky. So this one, congratulations. He didn't chase the money. Macklin chased the money. Macklin's never going to play at Kentucky or never be anything of significance back in the SEC. You couldn't play at Missouri. Now you're magically at Kentucky. You can't do that. That doesn't sound like a good career decision. But you're getting paid, so maybe it was. Maybe it was. You're not going to make the NFL. You're getting paid. Damon Ward, on the other hand, stayed here, and he's doing the damn thing. DT Sheffield, that's a transfer from Washington State, came over with Eric Morris, after he left Washington State, the head coach. So it's nice to see him in there doing his thing, and everybody else just kind of spreading the ball around. Pretty good stuff. I like North Texas a lot. They're going to score a lot of points. MVPs know this from last year. You know this from last year. ECU, like I said, rewatched the game, not impressed. South Florida, Byron Brown is doing what he does, and Bethune-Cookman's gross. So congratulations, South Florida, one of the better teams in the group of five. I really like them. Rice, laid a complete egg. I don't even want to get into it. They pissed me off. Congratulations, Sam Houston. You look good. We'll see where you're at this week. You look good. Memphis does what they do. Seth Hennigan throws for 300 yards. I believe they took the foot off the gas and just kind of chilled. Shout out to Rock Taylor, Demir Blumkinsey. I still haven't seen Shorter out there, Jair Shorter, but they got a number of running backs they can lean on. Cam Sutton, Mario Anderson, the kid from, and I was wrong about him, the kid from UMass. What's his name? DeRosis. Turned out to be pretty solid. He played pretty well. Man, I'm trying to remember his name. It's DeRosis. Yeah, DeRosis Jr. Played pretty decent. Hey, you see this here, but the touchdown and actually being in the field on the game, getting a couple of receptions, like he just came through. The way I didn't expect to see that. I'm not saying he's like pivotal by any means. Just one of these guys I thought would never even see the field. Seriously. So maybe he got to play because he was in a blowout. By the way, shout out to Ari Patu, former Stanford quarterback, transferred to North Alabama. Now 0-2, getting blown the hell out and looking absolutely terrible in those games, by the way. Just so you're aware. And then JMU, took them a while. Charlotte looked like they came to play. They're not there yet. And Alonzo Barnett is special. That's how I'm going to describe it. Alonzo Barnett was the starting quarterback last year. I didn't even notice that he was the starting quarterback last year for 2023. He ended up getting pulled for being substandard. Jordan McLeod took over, and the rest is history. And McLeod threw for 3,400 yards and had a great season with James Madison. So McLeod hits the transfer portal. He's now the quarterback at Texas State. And James Madison picks up a transfer. You think they're going to be doing this, and Alonzo Barnett III wins the quarterback job. JMU tells no one. I'm watching this game like, who the hell is this? He's special. But we're here to talk about the American, and that's Charlotte. And for Charlotte, they told me they were down a bunch of starters. I know some of the players. They reach out to me in DMs. I saw a lack of discipline yet again. And I'm not blaming Biff Poggi. I'm just saying I don't think he knows how to reel it in. So like his special teams coach was cussing out Hopkins. Hopkins, the transfer from Colorado. Cussing him out. Grilling into him. And Hopkins started talking back. You know why you start talking back to your coach? It's not the first time. It's not a one-off. It's because it's condoned. It's because it's allowed. So to see a player start arguing with his coach after making a mistake, I can't begin to tell you how toxic that environment has to be. Because as a coach, as a player, you should be in receive mode. Like, you should be locked in. You've seen the memes where the players are on the bench just looking at their coach, eye contact. And they're getting chewed out because they know they fucked up, and they're just sitting there Some players, they don't have that. They want to argue. They want to talk back and get the last word and all these other things. I mean, I'm telling you. You ever been with a woman like that? You ever been with a woman who just gaslights you or just starts arguing back and forth? Those are some of the worst relationships you'll ever be in. You won't achieve shit. You won't become great in life. You won't accumulate wealth. You won't do anything you're proud of. You just have a problematic partner. When the going gets tough, they become argumentative, talk back. There's just no respect there. That's wild to me. So I think it's a failed marriage. I think Charlotte's experiment with Biff Poggi won't work out. I see too many instances of disrespect to the staff from the players. I see the staff is equally as disrespectful, whatever it is. We've seen this all last offseason. The players fighting. Mainly it was a Noma fighting with all these guys, but there's more players. There's a big problem there. There really is. Shout out to Charlotte. I hope they get it together and score more than one touchdown in a game. That's real. Next week, Tulane. I already talked about it, against K-State. Looks like K-State's going to beat the brakes off of them. It's only 9-point spread. We'll talk about it. Memphis and Troy. It's on the chart. Can't talk about it. Florida Atlantic and Army. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Over-under's 42. That's probably a little too high. Probably a little too high. Army keeps the ball a really long time, and the only semblance of offense I saw from Florida Atlantic was quarterback runs. So keep the clock running. Charlotte, North Carolina, probably adding it to the chart. Probably. Navy, Temple. Navy looked gross, and obviously Temple's worse. I think Navy's defensive coordinator / head coach is just not a good hire. Shout out to Brian. How do they not beat Temple by 12.5 points, though? How? Temple's bad, man. Temple just... no way. Texas State, UTSA, it's on the chart, but I'm going to give you guys a prediction here, and I'm just going to keep it real. I think... I was so fast to say it, and then I stopped. Okay, according to my talent metric, Texas State is a better team. I would, dare I say, UTSA is a better coach team. It's a genuine pick'em. You have no business betting on that game. Watch it for fandom. Enjoy the hell out of it. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Ishmael Mahdi, go do your thing, bro. ECU at ODU. ODU played inspired football against South Carolina, and I look at it and I just think that ECU is a turnover waiting to happen, and they're favored by 2.5. South Florida against Alabama. How does Alabama have a 30.5 point spread? Hold on, I gotta check my chart, dude. There's just no way. Just give me a second here. Yeah, dude. I know. I understand. Alabama looked great week 1. But, nah, bruh. Nah. I can't talk about it. I just added this game to the chart, dude. You tripping. I added it to the locks column. That's wild. South Florida is not Akron. South Florida is not a directional Michigan school. South Florida... Nah. Fucking over under 63? Whew. But then you say 30. I'm dumbfounded. Sorry about that. Tulsa at Arkansas State. Shout out to Tulsa. There's gonna be a shootout there. That's gonna be a bit high scoring game. They got the over under at 65.5. That sounds about right. ULM at UAB. You know how I feel about ULM. If you watch the show, you know how I feel about UAB. Shout out to UAB. That's probably on the chart. Rice and Texas Southern. Get it fixed, Rice. Get it fixed. Come out and blow them out. North Texas, obviously an FCS school. They should get it done. So that's the entire American. I believe in it. Some of the things I don't talk about, guys, it's for the MVPs. You won't get it. I'm going to jump to the chat. One more time. Do not make me regret jumping to the chat. Please keep your questions. Big 12 and the American. I'm here. Let's see what you guys are talking about. All right. I'm going to interact. It looks like nobody wrote anything while I was talking. That's fine. Chill on Temple, y'all. Damn, I forgot Iowa was Big 10, not Big 12. Logan Goki. I can't deal with you guys. My bad, brother. I'm fried. I'm fried. Crashing out justifiably. I'm not crashing out. Guys, I can't crash out. Shout out to all the newest MVPs. Today is cash out day. Not crash out. Cash out day for Patreon. So I finally found out how much I made this month. I work hard. I'm in a good mood. I work hard. I'm in a good mood. You guys can't get me down. Shout out to the MVPs. Rico, I just joined the show. What up, Connor Formia? I'll rewind and jump to 1.5 speed. The Colorado fans cannot comprehend that their offense is not better than Arizona's. No, it is not. Arizona's is a complete offense. Arizona can run and pass, yes. It's tough to explain it to them, so uninformed. Well, it's hard. Let me tell you something, Connor Formia. It's very difficult to have conversations with certain people, and I've learned this in my life. Like, it's just hard to have conversations with people who don't have the same intellect level. You either have to choose different lexicon, different verbiage, different approaches. You know, like when you're talking to a kid, you have to talk a little slower to say certain things and describe it a certain way than when you're talking to somebody else. I'd imagine doctors do this with injuries, right? Attorneys do this with cases, especially if they're defending a certain defendant who doesn't quite understand the law or the verbiage, or, you know, you say affidavit to somebody. They won't have a clue what the fuck you're talking about, right? So what I'm saying is in the world of sports, sometimes you're in a conversation with somebody who isn't college educated, who probably can't read or write, who probably lives at home with their parents or doesn't have a job. You know, you could be talking to a number of things. And I would say a good majority of the Colorado fan base, at least from my perspective, are completely ignorant. Like, their favorite movie is Barbershop and, I don't know, Black Panther. Like, I just think they're just dumb as beyond dumb. And this is why, and listen, this is why I don't talk sports NFL. I won't talk to an NFL fan. At least with college, I got a shot you might be an alumni. I got a shot you might give a damn and know the difference between FBS and FCS. But when it comes to the NFL, man, there's just Neanderthals out there. There's some crayon-eating mother flippers that are fans of the NFL. I won't even engage that conversation. So that's my biggest issue. Like, right, when I'm talking to these guys and a dude chimes back in, and I'll give them a fair chance. I don't want to debate you. Just give them a fair chance. Just speak on it, whatever. And then I wrote to a guy, and I'm like, hey, man, your confirmation bias is showing. That's all I wrote. Your confirmation bias is showing. And I know by his response, he has no earthly idea what confirmation bias is. And I'm trying to think of analogies I can use to describe it and teach him. I got nothing, bro. Like, I'm just, I mean, I have examples, but I don't know what to say to the guy. And that's the problem. You're in a conversation with somebody of a lower intellect level. There's nowhere in my day-to-day life where I would come across these individual people. Like, they don't live in my neighborhood. They're not where I frequent. They're not anything that I'm doing in my life. I would never come across these people. I'm not a cab driver. I'm not an Uber driver. I don't work in wait staff or food staff. Like, I don't know where I would run into these people. The only chance is maybe at a red light and maybe while pumping gas, because that's what everybody does. Those two things. So the chances of you being next to somebody that ignorant is probably while pumping gas. At best. I'm just keeping it real, man. Like, and this isn't, so people will be like, Rico, you're being racial. I'm not being racial. I'm talking about social economics. I'm talking about, like, different levels of intellect. You could be smart as hell and come from anywhere. But dumb as hell people are in the comments. Dumb as hell people are interacting on Twitter. Like, it's crazy. I just roll my eyes. I roll my eyes. Whatever, cuz that's all mine. You don't know what you're doing. Like, I just, and these are the guys signing contracts on record deals. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you never see somebody who's like overly intellectual and hear them give you a lecture about them being uninformed on a topic because they did their due diligence. They did their D&D. So it is what it is. That's what you just have to know what you're engaged with. It's not your fault, Connor. It's not your fault. I see you trying to impart knowledge upon them and explain it to them. They're like, yo, we had two and a half yards per carry because we wanted 2.5 yards per carry. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm like, what the fuck? Are you the reason Blueface is like made music? Are you the reason these mumble rappers got popular? Like, I'm trying to figure out where you come from. You are the reason for something out here I can't stand. That's real. You don't blame me for shit. You're the reason this shit is happening. Like every time they talk to me, I'm just like, oh, you're the reason there's reality TV, bro. You're the reason there's reality TV. And that could go for a number of people. The Iowa fans, I'll just be like, yo, the LSU fans, I'm like, bro, you guys, this motherfucker sound like he's from swamp people. What? This is crazy. Are you one of them extras? And I saw you on Live PD, bro. Why are you arguing sports with me? I saw you on Live PD at a payphone in 2024. Like, I just can't mess with it. It's gross. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to the MVPs. What up, Derek Newcomer? Appreciate the daily grind, Rico. Been a proud MVP for over a year now. Yeah, man. Some of you guys are miracle workers. I appreciate every MVP. You guys make my life possible. The annual MVPs are next level. And then we have guys like Derek Newcomer, day one A1s, right? These guys, I know their names. I have thousands of MVPs. Some of them, I'd say about 200, I know them by name. They're a part of the family. They're a part of the channel, and there's not going anywhere. It's amazing. Look at that. Tidy Whitey Rob just walked in the room. We know Tidy Whitey Rob. That man's walking around in tidy whities, bro. It is what it is. Feels like Arizona playoff hope's dead. No, nobody's. The only playoff hope's dead, I think, are Florida State. I think. Nobody's real playoff hopes are dead unless you've lost 3 games. Lose 3 games, you're not in the top 10. That's the reality of the situation. You need to be in the top 10. Lose 3 games, be in the top 10, or lose 3 games, you're out of the top 10. So as long as you haven't lost 3 games, you're still alive. True story. Group of 5, you gotta do something else. Do you think Travis Hunter is a top 10 pick? I don't think he is. Well, Bryce, I have no earthly idea who's picking in the top 10. I don't know what those teams need. I'm going to give you an example, okay? This year, Dallas Turner was a top 10 pick. Some of these defenders were top 10 picks. Everybody's telling me all season long, all off season, top 10 pick, top 10 picks, top 10 picks. And then what happens? All the teams drafting, nobody drafted a defender till 15 or something. 14 or 15. It was 15 or 16. So every great defender in the world, you could tell me they're top 10. You could tell me they're great. And they're good. What if they don't need them? What if they don't need them? So for me personally, Travis Hunter, I think he's a project at wide receiver. And I think he's a 3rd round corner. Going to dominate in college football like a number of players dominated in college football. But NFL-wise, I think he's a good wide receiver. I like him, but I think he's a project. And when I say project, I'm referring to working on releases, working on the route tree, if you will. Hands, athleticism, ball skills, none of that is to question at all. I question top-end speed, releasing off the line, things like that. And I like other receivers better. Corner-wise, I just don't think I don't think he's NFL material at corner at all, really. Zone corner, like, okay. I don't know. I wouldn't draft him. Not as high as people are talking. But pick him where you want. Sell tickets. Sell jerseys. I'm not an owner. Come on, man. I've seen some terrible players drafted in the top 10. Nobody thought they were terrible when they got drafted. Nobody thought they were terrible when they got drafted. I just told dude to have a good day. Pointless to conversate with stupidity. Yeah, Connor, don't do it to yourself, man. You would never talk to those people in real life. So why let them into your phone right now? Why let them into your computer, your phone, your life, anything? You never know them in a million years. Any dude who writes me a message on TikTok and he's like, you better watch your step. I see you, I'm pressing you and all this shit. I'm like, well, first and foremost, I don't like your chances. You sound very unrealistic. Secondly, and most importantly, I got HOA, bro. I got HOA. I don't think you've been in an HOA neighborhood in your life. Like, that's real. I'm just keeping it real. So it is what it is. We rock with you, Rico. Never a doubt in my mind, Natasha. I rock with you. You think you rock with me, but I rock with you guys more than you rock with me. I'm letting you know. You know my name soon enough. Appreciate everything you do for us, MVP. Shout out to you, Jay Ralston. I recognize it. I recognize it. Ain't changing my undies till Notre Dame loses. Ugh, Robert Ruggiero. Hey, Tidy Whitey Rob is saying he's not going to change his underwear till Notre Dame. He's a diehard Notre Dame fan. And he's not going to change his underwear until Saturday, which is gross in itself. Arizona's defense sucked. I thought they have a lot of things they need to work on. Sucked is a very subjective term. Very subjective term. Devin Dampier can do what he wants. Just watch that little dude. He's different. But yeah, probably didn't meet expectations. I don't think they sucked. They just didn't meet expectations. What up, Rico? You are correct on the Charlotte situation. Pat Murphy said it best. Uncoachable kids become unemployed adults. And Colorado fans. And Colorado fans. Just letting you know. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate everybody. I'm going to actually wrap up the show. I have another podcast to do today. Hopefully that one it will go off at 5 p.m. That will be the SEC and the Sun Belt. Please only bring SEC and Sun Belt questions. Don't bring me nothing else. I don't want to answer it. I won't answer it. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.